more apt title might have been How to Nuke the Moon and What'll Happen. The research team has concluded that since the moon lacks an atmosphere, several key events will not occur. The first is that there will be no mushroom cloud from the explosion. Instead, once the nuke is detonated, it'll kick tons of dust and debris straight up into the vacuum of space. It would be more of a pillar than a mushroom cloud. However, the heads of the Air Force are pleased to hear that the flash upon detonation would still be visible from the Earth. What's the point of nuking the moon if no one can see that you did it? The government wondered. The whole point of the mission is to show the world that the United States has a presence in space. It's also to boost the morale of the country, who feels that the U.S. is falling behind the Soviets. And since they're at war, even if it is a cold one, the United States must show their strength and ability to outdo anything the Soviets can. At the conclusion of the report, Rifle and the team make some suggestions. Since they are all scientists, they can't help but add some experiments to the blowing up the moon plan. They recommend sending up scientific instruments before the nuclear warhead and landing them on a location where data can be collected. When the nuke goes off, it'll send seismic waves through the moon's crust and mantle. The waves can be recorded and analyzed. The data collected this way would allow scientists to better understand the composition of the moon and what its internal layers consist of. However, the team also concludes that there are some definite problems with nuking the moon. First and foremost, it'll be incredibly expensive. To be fair, no price tag is too big if it means beating the Soviets to something. This is because it would boost morale and make people around the world cower in fear at America's might. But Rifle and his team also conduct some preliminary research on how the public will feel about the United States nuking the moon. They find that not everyone is as excited about the idea as the U.S. Air Force is. After the devastation that the nuclear bombs caused at the end of World War II in Japan, nukes became a real concern for the average citizen. Everyone now knew that if a nuke goes off in their vicinity, they would most likely not be able to escape its blast. It also doesn't help that the Soviet Union and the United States have continued to improve on the deadly weapons and make them more and more powerful. The research team concludes that the general public is not prepared for the nuking of the moon, and it could create a negative reaction instead of a positive one. There's also another problem with the plan. If the United States successfully blows up a nuclear bomb on the moon, the Soviets will have to do the same. Not only that, but they'll have to one-up their adversary, which means that an even larger nuke might be sent to the moon by the communist regime. This would continue to escalate until the two nations either blew up the moon or each other. It could also lead to the lunar surface becoming a radioactive wasteland. At this point in 1957, no one has ever been to the moon, so who knows what damage could be caused if the nuke was detonated there. In fact, as far as anyone knew, there may be life hidden in the warm pockets on the lunar surface. It's unlikely, but more research needs to be done before humans irradiate the space rock. Rifle and his team informs the Air Force that if nuclear bombing of the moon gets out of hand, it will be unsafe to send any astronauts in the future since the radiation levels will be too high. The conclusion of Project A119 is that nuking the moon is says Leonard Rifle. The generals in the room rifle through the documents in front of them, grumbling their discontent. It seems as if some of them really wanted to blow up the moon, even if it was just for fun. We don't know enough about the moon to warrant destroying it yet, Rifle continues. Are there important resources on the lunar surface? Could we colonize the moon someday? Is there hidden alien life there? We just don't know, and nuking the moon could jeopardize discovering all of that. The generals close their folders and push them toward the middle of the table. Very well, says one of the Air Force generals a little somberly. We won't nuke the moon. Thank you, responds Rifle. Something else to keep in mind. The United States record with successfully launching missiles into space without exploding them is not great. If you attach a nuclear warhead to the top of one of those missiles and something goes wrong, you will inadvertently be detonating a nuclear bomb on United States soil. The repercussions of such a tragedy would be disastrous. The Air Force generals all agree. All of these valid concerns eventually lead the United States government to scrapping Project A119. Sending a nuke to the moon and detonating it was something the world was not ready for, and the Soviets agreed. They also gave up their plans to nuke the moon, most likely because the idea of something going wrong and a nuclear warhead detonation within the USSR was not something the